Hey guys, how are you doing? I hope everybody is well. This is going to be a voiceover, so you will not hear my voice on this particular word. But the word is still, nevertheless, going to be powerful because any word that's spoken from God is a powerful word. So let's get into it. So today is day 37 of the 40 days of surrender. We have 3 days left after today. Today is day 37 of the 40 days of surrender. And I honestly don't know what the Lord is going to have me title this word, but you guys will know as you're listening to this, because there'll obviously be a title on there, but I haven't titled this word yet. I don't know what the Lord is going to lead me to call this prophetic word, but let's go ahead and get into it. So I had this revelation on, let me look in my phone, yesterday in the wee hours of the morning. And this is not from a dream or a vision or any of that. I heard the voice of the Lord speak to me. I was in my bed and I was laying down. I don't know if my eyes were closed or if my eyes were open, but I heard the Lord speak these words to me. So everything I'm going to give you guys, I heard it. I heard it in the spirit. And I heard it loud and clear, but I was not asleep. So this was not from a dream. God speaks to me in many different ways. Majority of the times it's dreams, but I do get visions. I get open visions. I hear the Lord sometimes speak audibly. And this was one of those. I heard him speak audibly. And when he spoke audibly, behind that, I heard song lyrics being sung to me. So I'm going to give you guys this word. So I was laying in bed and I heard the Lord say, I need 2 Cinderellas to come back to their spot. I need 2 Cinderellas to come back to their spot. And then I heard my name, Christina, like it was spoken just like that. Christina, right? So first I heard, I need 2 Cinderellas come back to their spot. And then I heard Christina, as if, you're it reminded me of being in a doctor's office and you're waiting to be called and someone's like, they say your name like Christina, and they're waiting for someone to say, here I am. And when I heard my name spoken after I need 2 Cinderellas to come back to their spot, I knew I had to go back. I knew it. I knew I had to go back. And as I'm sitting here giving you guys this word, I feel like my eyes were closed because I do remember opening my eyes and grabbing my phone and recording what I heard. Okay. And then I heard the song start to play or someone start to sing the song. And I can't remember if it was a woman or a man's voice, but I heard this song start to be sang to me. And I heard, I'll never walk again until you come back to me. I'm down on bended knee. I'll never walk again until you come back to me. I'm down on bended knee. And if you guys are a little bit older, you would know that these lyrics come from the song On Bended Knee by Boys to Men, right? This song is by Boys to Men, On Bended Knee, okay? And that was pretty much the end of what I heard. So I got up and I grabbed my phone and I recorded what I had heard. I don't know who this word is for, but obviously it's not for everybody. Everybody's not in a season of marriage, right? People are in different seasons. But what the Lord is saying, first of all, let me give you guys what the Lord gave to me that I didn't know before I sat with him on this word. Because to be honest, guys, I'm not a person that even as a child has ever been into watching the movie Cinderella or Snow White or Little Mermaid. Like I wasn't watching any of those shows, guys. As a little girl, I watched Barney all the time. Barney was my favorite character. And I shared with you guys how mad I still am with my dad. He's passed away, bless his heart, because I remember him sending me to school dressed as Barney for Halloween. I was in like the 1st grade. And I was so embarrassed because, guys, I've been tall my whole life. So imagine being a kid dressed as Barney and guys, it was just horrible. But Nevertheless, Barney was my favorite character as a child. I was not into like girly movies or like Ariel the mermaid and all that stuff. I liked Barney. Okay, don't judge me, judge yourself. Okay. But anyway, this is what the Lord began to speak to me about Cinderella. And I didn't know this. This is why it's so important to sit with God. But the name Cinderella actually comes from the word cinder, Cinder. And cinder is ashes. It's like the definition of it, and let me pull it up so I can give you guys the exact definition so that you understand. The definition of cinder, Cinder, is a small piece of burned coal or wood that begins to give off ashes. So technically, cinder is ashes, right? And that's where the name Cinderella comes from. It comes from the word, the French word cendrillon, which comes from the meaning cinder, which means ash or ashes, right? And it's associated with Cinderella because in the movie, she's mistreated by her step family and she's forced to do all of this labor around the house and all the things, right? And one of those things includes cleaning out the fireplace, right? And when she would clean out the fireplace, anybody that cleans a fireplace is often covered in ashes from cleaning the fireplace out. And you guys could actually go read, Cinderella has been remade so many times, but that's basically where the original creator of Cinderella got her name from. She was forced to clean out the fireplace and she would be covered in ashes. So that's where her name Cinderella comes from. Her name literally means ashes, right? So her actual story, though, is a story of transformation and redemption. It's a story that it shows her ultimately rising above her circumstances and she finds happiness, right? By just simply being herself, right? By simply being herself. She was resilient. She persevered through hardship, right? And ultimately, she got the victory in the end, right? She lived with her wicked stepmothers, her wicked stepsisters, and they treated her as a servant. But despite those hardships, Cinderella remained kind and full of love and hopeful, right? And one day an invitation comes to her to go to a royal ball that this invitation was sent to all eligible maidens in the kingdom, right? And with the help of Cinderella's fairy godmother, Cinderella is transformed for this one night to attend the ball, and she's transformed into a beautiful princess. And there she meets the prince, right? But at midnight, when all of this magical stuff that her fairy godmother has done for her wears off, she leaves behind her glass slipper. And ultimately, the prince uses the slipper, the shoe. Y'all better catch this spiritually, because God don't do no magic, but he makes it happen. So I hope y'all catching this spiritually. But the prince uses her shoe, her slipper, to find her. And they are reunited, and it leads to her happy ending. And shows it leads to her happy ending. And it was just based on her inner beauty. At the end of the day, she's recognized for her inner beauty and she's rewarded for exactly who she is. She didn't have to try to go outside of the box to be anybody. At the end of the day, the prince wanted her even when she was not dressed like a princess. He had fell in love with her, right? And if you look at her shoe and in a spiritual sense, he fell in love with her walk, right? And I don't mean the way she twisted. I mean the walk that God, y'all better catch this word. Help me explain this to your children, Lord, because God speaks to me in parables. So I'm trying to deliver this the best I can. At the end of the day, whoever this word is for, you've endured some hard things, mistreatment. You've had to, just like Cinderella had to clean out the fireplace and was covered in ashes. You've had to put out a lot of fires in your life. You've been through the ringer. People that were supposed to love you and care for you, just like Cinderella was supposed to be around her stepmother and her stepsisters that she was left with after her father died, and they were supposed to care for her and take care of her, but instead they mistreated her. They treated her like she was nothing. But at the end of the day, day, what God is doing for you is he's turning the tide. He's turning the tide. So at the end of the day, the victory belongs to you. And the Lord is saying, I need you to come back to that spot. I need you to stay in place to what I've told you to stand for what I've told you to stand for. I need you to come back. Some of you have veered off, right? It's been a long journey and you're tired. You're all for God, but you're like, man, I'm not standing for this restoration, this reuniting with this person anymore. Like, God, I'm in it for you. Let me just walk in purpose and live my life. And if it hasn't happened yet, I'm not gonna look for it to happen. It's okay, Lord. I just want you. But the Lord is saying, I need you to come back, Cinderella, to your spot. I literally heard, I need 2 Cinderellas to come back to their spot. And then I heard Christina, and I knew that by the way the Lord called my name and what I heard, that I had to go back, that I couldn't just walk forward. There was something God was telling me to come back to, and it was a royal spot, a position of royalty. It was something that was about to transpire that I had never experienced before, but I also knew this word wasn't just for me. The Lord is saying, come back. What he told you to stand for, he's still gonna do it for you. He saw you covered in ashes, but honey, he says, I will give you beauty for ashes. He says, I will give you beauty for ashes, and he's still going to do that for you. He needs you to come back. He needs you to come back to that spot that he originally designed for you. But sometimes when it takes so long and you've been mistreated for so long, you're just like, oh, Lord, I'm good with just you. Like it's okay. But he tells us, I will bestow on you a crown of beauty instead of ashes, oil of joy instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of splendor. And that is exactly what Cinderella experienced. She experienced oaks of righteousness, a planting for the display of splendor. She was treated so horribly, right? By the people that were supposed to love on her, by the people that were divinely placed in her life, but instead she Lord, help me get these words out. I hope y'all are catching this. She was treated harshly by people that were supposed to love on her, but at the end of the day, there was a turning of the tide. There was a reuniting that led to her happy ending. And it was for who she really was in nature, for her inner beauty, was she recognized and rewarded. The Lord tells us in Proverbs 31, verses 29 through 31, he says, many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is worthy to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring praise at the city gate. That is the NIV version. I'm going to read this in the easy to read version. It says, there are many good women, but you are the best. Grace and beauty can fool you, but a woman who respects the Lord should be praised. Give her the reward she deserves. Praise her in public for what she has done. God is saying, come back. He needs you to come back to the original position that he told you he would place you in. He saw it all, but there's a turning of the tide. Just like for Cinderella, there was a turning of the tide. All her whole life, she had been covered in ashes, but the Lord bestowed beauty upon her for ashes. And I need you guys to see this as a God story, not a cartoon character, not a fairy tale, but what God is doing right now in this very moment and what he is speaking on. God can use anything. And then I heard the song lyrics by Boyz II Men on Bended Knee. I'll never walk again until you come back to me. I'm down on bended knee. Whoever God is restoring you to, they need you. They need you. This isn't about you. This isn't about them, but it's God getting the glory out of this reuniting, out of this restoration, out of this reconciliation. They can't move forward until you get in your corrected spot, in your divine spot, in the spot that God has for you. There's a certain level of favor that does not open for a husband until he is with the wife that God has for him. That's Bible. There is a certain level of favor that the husband does not get until he's with the wife that God has for him. That favor door does not open until he's with that person. And whoever this is for, the Lord is saying he needs you to come back. He needs you to come back to that spot. Because what he's about to do for you, there's a turning of the wheel. There's a turning of the tide in the story. Cinderella's name means ashes. But at the end of the day, Cinderella is royalty. She ended up being rich, dressing in the finest things, marrying the love of her life, being reunited to a prince, right? He had a lot of choices, but he didn't stop looking until he found the person that was able to fit in the shoe. And I hope y'all are catching this spiritually. Nobody else can stand in the shoes as this man's wife, but the person that God has ordained for the shoes to fit on. And whoever this word is for, that's you. That's you. Says, I'll never walk again until you come back to me. I'm down on bended knee. They can't move forward until you are in your rightful place. The Lord is saying, come back to your spot. I heard I need 2 Cinderellas to come back to their spot. Christina, and I knew I had to go back. And like I said, I was not dreaming. This wasn't a vision. I was hearing the Lord speak this to me. And I knew I had to go back. But I also knew this is not just a word for me. This is not just a word for me. Just like Esther. Esther was put in a house to compete for the king's love with other women, but all along that spot was hers. Nobody else could have fit in Esther's shoes but Esther. Ruth, she was put in a spot for the king to notice her, for Boaz to notice her, right? For her king to notice her. Nobody else could have stepped in the shoes as Boaz's wife, but the person God had designed for that position. That was Ruth. Esther lost a lot in her life before she became queen. She was an orphan. She lost her parents, right? She didn't have parents. Ruth lost her husband. She ended up leaving her family to go with Naomi. She said, your God will be my God. Best decision she ever made in her life was making God her God. Because God was going to open some doors for her that only he could have opened, but she had to make him her God, the head of her life. And she did just that, but she lost, right? She had a lot of loss in her life, but God restored all of that. She got back more than she could imagine. God restored Esther. She got back more than she could have ever imagined. The Lord is saying, come back to the spot that he originally prophesied to you, that he originally talked to you about. And whoever this word is for, you know exactly where that spot is, who that spot is with. You know all the things, right? You know all the things. This word is going to resonate with whoever it's for. And that's the end of the word, y'all. I hope you guys understood the message, who it's for. You'll understand. I may have called Ruth Esther and Esther Ruth in this word. I don't know, guys. Y'all know I be talking too fast and sometimes it comes out crisscross. But if you know your word, it won't confuse you if I did mess up the names. But that's the word. The Lord is saying he needs you to come back, Cinderella. He's giving you beauty for ashes. You put out a lot of fires, cleaned up a lot of mess, been talked about, mistreated, and all the things. But at the end of the day, God saw how hopeful you remained. how you still chose to operate in love, even though hate was being thrown your way. He saw all of that. And when God divinely intervenes on your behalf, ooh, that's a showstopper. So that's the word, guys. Again, the Lord spoke this to me yesterday, July 1st, the first day of the 7th month. So that's the word, y'all. I love you. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.